We have Lloyd Singleton from Sumter County today to talk to us about mulch. Welcome, Lloyd.
Thank you.
Well, now why do we need to mulch? It seems like a lot of effort and investment to put mulch in your garden.
True. There's four major reasons we do want to mulch. The first one is we want to keep the soil moisture where it is. You want to keep that moisture in the soil from evaporating. Secondly, you want to suppress weeds. None of us really like to spend our time in the garden pulling weeds, and mulch is a great way to keep that weed growth down, even keep them from sprouting. Thirdly, mulch serves as an insulator for the soil. Just as you would insulate your home to keep it cool in the summer and warm in the winter, you can do the same for the root zone of the plant by having a good layer of mulch. It's healthy for the plant to have that insulation. And then my favorite reason, the fourth reason to do it, is because you're adding organic matter to the soil. Florida soils are notoriously undernourished. I mean, they're just sand for the most part, and it's a great way to get that organic matter that really improves the tilth of the soil, the structure and the nutrient holding capacity of the soils.
Well, what is the best type of mulch to use then?
Well, you have a lot of options. You can buy anything made from recycled lumber all the way to baled pine straw or pine nuggets. You can also create mulch from your own landscape debris. I have samples here today of some of my favorite types of mulch. Pine bark nuggets is one of the best, I think, and it's basically a byproduct of the lumber industry. This is pine bark that is harvested off the logs that are used to make lumber. So it's something that would be a waste product otherwise, but it does make for a very good mulch.
And it looks very similar to the cypress mulch that you see. Is there an advantage to using pine over cypress?
There is environmentally, because pine bark is a waste product of that forest industry, whereas cypress is occasionally harvested just to make the mulch. We really don't need to be harvesting trees to make mulch when they're a critical part of our wetlands. So much prefer to use the pine bark.
Is there any advantage? Some people have said cypress is supposed to be help to control pests or something like, or rot less quickly. Is there any truth to that?
It decomposes a little more slowly, yes. But there are other options too that you could buy of Melaleuca and other trees that are grown for that, and they would have some of the same properties if that's very important to you. However, I think if you're focused on the soil health, you'll find that pine bark is, you want it to decompose eventually because it adds that tilth, that organic matter.
Okay.
Another favorite one is good old pine straw or pine needles. They're easy to find. You can buy them by the bale, or you can rake them up, or even get them out of your own gutters when you clean the gutters. But pine straw makes a dense mat. It packs down pretty well, easily suppresses weeds, and keeps the moisture in the soil very well too.
Now, I've heard that they also make the soil a little acidic, so they're really good for around azaleas and acid-loving plants.
Absolutely, and a lot of the plants that we recommend using for Florida-friendly landscapes do like the soil a bit acidic anyway, so it kind of keeps that all in balance. So pine straw is a very good option for mulch. And another option, particularly if you don't want to spend much money on your landscape, would just be your oak leaves. Leaves drop a lot this time of year as the oak trees are pushing off the old growth with the new leaves. Very easy to rake up, and then what do you do with them? Well, you spread them on your landscape beds as mulch, and it's a great way to again suppress the weeds and keep the soil moisture in, and use something that would otherwise be a waste product.
Now, what about pests in these type of mulches? All these organic mulches, don't they harbor cockroaches and termites and things like that?
It's really a fallacy. If you have cockroaches and termites in your yard already, you have them. You're not going to be bringing termites in by bringing in mulch. It's the moisture of the soil that really is what the termites are looking for. It's a key to keep the mulch away from the foundation of your house, so you don't want to encourage the termites to get any closer to it. But I think you'll find that the benefits far outweigh the risks of attracting any pest with organic mulches.
Because some people want to use stones or other recycled tires because they feel that that's not going to attract pests, but it's actually more the moisture that's in that mulch that the pests or the termites would use rather than the wood
Very
itself?
true, and inorganic mulch is also going to keep that soil moisture there, which is one of the benefits of mulch, but it does not necessarily attract any fewer pests, and you're negating the benefit of adding organic matter to the soil if you use an inorganic or synthetic type of mulch.
Now, where should we be mulching?
Your landscape beds. You want to mulch areas where shrubs are planted, around the root zone of trees. It is important to keep the mulch away from the stems of the shrubs or the trees, the trunk, because you don't want to suffocate it at all. But you do want to keep the root zones cool. Eventually, as your plants grow in your landscape beds, you can do away with mulching in the middles and just mulch the outside edges and kind of keep a neat look and keep the weeds down where the sunlight hits it.
Okay, when should we mulch then?
Okay. You can mulch any time of year,
Okay.
but now is a very good time, and particularly if you haven't mulched in a while, because you're going to be kind of nipping the weed germination in the bud.
Those are the seeds that are starting to come up now as it starts to warm up?
Exactly. As the day length gets longer and we get warmer temperatures, weed seed is going to tend to want to germinate, and you can prevent that by mulching with a good 2 to 3 inch thick layer of mulch, and it will prevent the sunlight from helping those seeds to germinate.
Should we be putting any type of herbicide underneath?
You could do a pre-emergent if you wanted to, but I think you'll find that the mulch itself is a much more environmentally friendly way of suppressing weeds.
And maybe pull some if there's some already starting to come up
Absolutely.
before we put it down?
Absolutely. Pull them or even scuffle hoe, use a hoe or something and kind of rake them up first before you apply the mulch.
Now, how much mulch do you need?
2 to 3 inches is ideal, but it's okay to have a less of that depending on what you use. But you generally want to aim or calculate to get 2 to 3 inches worth of mulch in your landscape beds.
Now, if you have some old there already and you're just adding to it, you shouldn't necessarily add 3 inches every year, should you?
No,
Okay.
you shouldn't. In fact, your layer of mulch should total 3 inches maximum. You don't want to go above that, or you may actually kind of smother your plants.
I've seen volcanoes that have formed because they just keep adding on more and more and more.
Right, and if you do see a volcano, that's a problem. If you see something shaped like a mountain, it's bad because the water that tree in particular needs is going to be rolling off, not going into the roots that are close to the stem. You're also keeping that stem or the trunk of the tree too hot and too moist. I equate it to having to wear a turtleneck all year round. It's just not fair. You know, you want to scrape that mulch away and let the air get down to that root zone right at the base of the tree.
And how often do we put this on? Is it just once a year that is pretty much needed?
Good question. It depends on what kind of mulch you're using. One of the fastest ones to decompose and go away is pine straw. Now, one of the benefits of the pine straw is it's adding the organic matter, but you probably will need to mulch twice a year if you want to keep that fresh look. Pine bark nuggets will last easily a year unless you have torrential rains, and sometimes some of it may wash away and you need to rake it back into the bed. Some of the other hardwood mulches can last even longer than that, but you basically have to gauge it on your need for the aesthetic, and then maybe occasionally dig down and see how deep it is, and then determine when you need to remulch to add to it.
What about colored mulches? I've seen a lot of different colored mulches. Is there any advantage to that?
It's a matter of taste. There really isn't an advantage to the ones that are made out of recycled wood that are colored brightly. Personally, I like things to look more natural. And I think when you're drawing the eye to the mulch, which is supposed to be the backdrop with a bright color, that's not the best design. You're better off letting the plants and the flowers be the focal point and let the mulch just kind of blend into nature. I think as mulches get older, they do tend to turn gray, just as we do. And as I get older, I become more fond of the color gray and prefer to call it silver or platinum. But I think it's okay to have some of those natural tones down at the ground level, again, because it lets your eye focus on the beautiful plants instead.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.